Greetings, family. Welcome to Parenting Young Adults with Kim and Tora. I'm Kim,
I'm Tora.
and thank you for joining our podcast. So, today we're going to talk about what's our topic today, Tora?
Well, I think we should talk about what's going on a little bit in the world today. There have been seven mass shootings in 7 days, and that's just been heavy on my heart because
Hang on for a second. You had mentioned that to me. I'm only aware of two.
yeah,
Only
seven.
there have been seven. What are the
Yeah.
seven? I'm, of course,
Um,
aware. Go
they
ahead.
they haven't really aired the other ones. They've only aired the ones at the Asian, salons
Atlanta,
and the one, and then they've done the one in Boulder. But there
Colorado.
were some other ones that just happened.
Hmm.
And my thing of this, some of the people are well, the guys are fairly young. Of course, they're all guys, but they're
They're all
fairly
white
young.
guys, right?
Well, they appear to look that one. They have names, and I don't want to say it's a Muslim name or
I
Arabic
saw
name.
one name,
But yeah,
Ahmad something, and
exactly.
I
So
wondered if they were Muslim, but none of them, but otherwise, they're all white males, right? This is a white
exactly.
male phenomenon, as
So
far as I'm aware.
right, and my thing is they're fairly young. So I always wanted to know what were the warning signs, like if if it's your child, what are the warning signs? Like, and if you see them, do you turn your kid in? Because I know there was a girl here where I lived. Her son was into drugs, selling it, and he was into guns at a very young age. And I'll never forget, she reached out to the police for help. She needed the police to like come get
A
him and
black woman,
him, black woman,
I
and she
would not reach
didn't
out
have a
to the
dad.
police. I
And
would reach out
my
for help, but not to the police, not for a
I'm
black
going to say
male.
this is over 15, 16 years ago because he's around my son's age, and so I want to say he's probably in his 30s now. But when he was young, like 14, 15 years old, he really got into drugs. He really got into um guns and stuff like that, and she reached out to the police for help, and they were like, look, until he commits a murder, until he gets busted for drugs, we can't help him. And I was just like,
I'm not
and I'll
surprised.
never forget that. I'll never forget that. So my thing is this,
The police don't prevent; they react. They
right?
they
So
don't
who
prevent
do you
crime.
call when you see your child
A
is
counselor.
acting
You
weird and
take
you're
them
saying,
you take them to a psych ward or to a counselor or to if that issue that you're
"Mhm,
talking about,
mhm."
well, he wasn't doing drugs, he was selling
No,
drugs.
he was selling them. He's never done drugs. I know it's like, how do you say a kid like that is a good kid? He's a good kid, but he was hanging around bad people, and those bad people were teaching him how to sell drugs. And he was buying arsenals of guns, and his mother was disturbed by it. And I'll never forget her telling
Options
me
at a
that
time like that are military school.
she.
If they're
But you got to
using
remember, poor black people don't have really access to all like military school therapists. So it's like, I know we
yeah,
don't really,
Medicaid will get them therapists.
yeah,
Medicaid,
yeah,
they
I'm
can
pretty
get
sure now,
actually therapists probably more quickly and cheaper than I can because they have Medicaid.
they do, but I'm 15 years ago they didn't. But now I think it's the door should be open. So I don't understand how all this mass shootings are happening and parents are saying, I saw the signs. Mostly all these parents are saying they saw the signs.
But these are a different kind of parents than you and I. And
Mhm,
we just have to acknowledge that, white people raise their children differently. They
mhm,
react to their children differently.
mhm,
They allow their children to speak to them differently than we allow our children to speak to us.
mhm, mhm,
So now, I mean, I don't know. I know that you have a lot of white friends, or some, and
mhm,
your children have white friends. So
mhm.
I'm going to a little bit defer to you, but I think that for the most part, this is not a black phenomenon.
So
These are
because
always
we
white
not wholly
males.
removed from it, how do you feel when you look at society as a whole, and this is going on? Do you feel like that's them over there, or do you feel like,
I
man,
feel like they need to address the issue. They need to.
I
So,
do
first
too.
of all, you cannot address the issue until you acknowledge it. So, there's been no acknowledgement that all these mass shootings are committed by young typically young white males, some older, but white
Mhm.
males nonetheless, typically young white males, when they acknowledge that, then they can look at what are the root causes. Instead of saying, oh, he had a bad day, let's say, what is it in, they should be saying, what
Right.
is it in the way we're raising our children, dealing with our children, that is lending itself to this kind of phenomenon? But,
Okay.
we have to admit it first. I don't think it's, I mean, I do think it's them, but
Mhm.
it's affecting us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we all,
Because it affects the
we
way
need
our
them to
children
address it.
think and move around the world. It affects the way we go to Walmart. It affects the way we go to the, grocery store because they're happening in the malls. They're happening at grocery stores. So it makes us think like, do you even want to bother going out in the world if you know that these people are ready to set it off any moment? And
Well,
I
then,
I I get upset because I was ignorant today. And this is why I'm having this conversation because we were at dinner and I made the mistake of saying, where I don't remember that being that many mass shootings when Trump was in office. So this is really how this conversation came up. And my son went ballistic. He was like, Mom, what are you talking about? There was the most.
but
He was
then
like,
the Las Vegas one, wasn't that on his watch?
absolutely. That's what I was like. Oh my God, you hit it right on the nose. He pulled up a stream. It was the church, it was the
Oh yeah,
club,
the
it was
church.
Vegas.
Yeah,
I was so
Dynamo.
upset with myself for saying that. I was like, yeah, turtle going back in the shell, like, ooh, I didn't even, and I was like, how come I don't remember it? You know why? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember it stinging like this because the media didn't cover it like this. Like our president was so like, look, y'all, get over it, move on. We got other things to do.
So that's what I wanted to say to you.
Mhm,
Why did you think that there was a distinction between when he was president and the mass shootings have been going on before him, the school
mhm,
shootings, they've
mhm.
been going, all
Oh
this
yeah.
stuff has been going on for a long time. What
Mhm.
made you think that during his tenure there was a difference?
Well, even my son said he's like, "Mom, you don't understand. Trump had control over the media. He was like letting them know, like, look, y'all ain't gonna be putting all of this stuff on TV like this."
Hmm.
And it hit me because I didn't remember seeing it like even the reporting of it. I don't remember seeing it like this. Like these people on the news tonight and yesterday, they've been in tears. When they're hearing these people's stories right now about how they were ducking underneath cabinets and underneath counters and hiding in clothes and telling their kids to shut up and you better not cry. They were in tears when they were telling their stories. And I'm just like, I don't remember seeing nobody get emotional. So I don't remember it sinking in me like that. Like, I'm quite sure they did. I'm quite sure all the ones, but I just don't remember seeing it.
And so for me, I have to defer to you because once again, I don't watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch that. So I learned of these incidents the
Mm-hmm.
same way I learned of all of those, either on my phone or on my computer.
Okay.
I didn't watch any stories or listen to any, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
watch any YouTube accounts. I just got the basics. And now I know that they've struck once again. And then that brings me back when you mentioned going to the grocery store and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on some level it is an us versus them. It's the kind of thing where you just think it's not happening here, it could never happen to us, anything can happen anywhere. But I
Anything.
think
Yep.
most of us walk around thinking, I mean, that's not something I consider on a daily basis. If I'm going to go to the store or
Me
whatever, I don't think
neither.
about, um I remember it happened in Colombia though.
I remember the
That
Columbus
that
Mall.
hit
I
close to home
remember.
and made me think about it from time to time.
Absolutely. And what got me was my daughter was working at the company at the time, at the Annapolis Mall one.
Oh
She was
wow.
working there. So that definitely like made me roll my eyes and be like, oh my goodness, But yeah, they had a Zoomies down here and I'll never forget it because of that.
Mhm.
So uh I always put myself in a position where when I hear stuff on the news, I don't want it to alter my kid's life, but it alters my life for them. Like I'm always like I went down the whole rundown with Victoria, like, okay, pay attention to your surroundings. Cause she wanted to go to buy some glue because she just got a new wig and she's like, I need some glue. And she had to go into you know where, an Asian providing store, because that's all the
No, why? What we do now is we just find black ones, even if we have to
exactly.
travel, we
But
just go.
she was
I'm
right
not giving
there
them any money like
in her
that.
hometown. Well, she was right here in her hometown. So we have two that we know of. There was one that was black owned, and I'm not sure even if she knows about it or if it's still in business. I feel ashamed because I don't know.
Well, just for a little glue, maybe, but like if I need to go make some purchases,
Mhm.
and I used to go, there's one right in my community, and I used to go there all the time,
Black
buy
owned.
crochet braids, all kind of stuff. But once they started um hitting
Black
grandmothers
owned.
over the head for
Mhm.
$40 pedicures and
Mhm.
really abusing black women in their
Mhm.
stores,
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
stopped going to the salons to get the pedicures and stuff. I do my own. I bought the
Mhm.
gel polish and the light. I do not go to their beauty supplies. I am not giving people money who are kicking my people's behinds. I'm just
Okay.
not doing it.
That's so funny you said that because I often want to ask, my peers, my sisters. You saw the video just like I saw it.
Yeah, I
The
was
Asian
appalled.
women hitting the women and the men.
And the
Hitting the,
men
yeah,
going
and
in
the
on them.
men. Yeah,
Yeah,
hitting the
I'm
women
done.
and stuff. So if you feel like um they did that over there, do you feel like what it's so nice to me? I don't have that experience. They are so, catering to my needs. How do you I know that's, our people and I know that's my sisters and I know, but how
I
do we
identify with the black people and I have stopped spending money with them and I will not be spending any more money with them, except minimal. Now, like you said, Victoria needed some
Mhm,
wig glue. I don't know what kind of glue that is, but it's
mhm,
a bottle of one
right.
thing.
Mhm,
It's not worth a trip across town.
mhm,
So I would do something minimal like that, but I identify with the black people. I don't care that these Asians over here are nice. This is how,
mhm.
it all started in New York when they shot the little girl. I
Yeah.
I can't with them. And when they start beating grandmothers over the back with a broom, I
Mhm,
said
yeah.
they are not. I don't have to. I used to go there, not all
Mhm,
the time because
mhm.
I'm not
I
so into all
frequented
of
a
that,
lot.
but I used to go there.
I established actually friendships with most of the salons from our malls to our, plazas, our shopping plazas. I frequent like 4 or 5 different ones. And the ones that I do frequent, I am literally really close with. Like pour my
I
heart
used
out
to
to
do
them
that
while
a
they're
long
doing my
time
nails and
ago.
toes. And yeah. So that's why I always say, it's so hard for me to say because I don't know how I feel if somebody did me wrong. I don't know if I want people to rally around me and be like, yeah, y'all, let's not shop at this store anymore. Let's not buy their product anymore. I don't know if I feel that way, or I paint this person to be a bad person, or just this situation to be a bad situation. I'm sick behind the fact that I feel that way because I'll see these people, right, get treated this way. And then I think to myself, if I encountered a bad experience with this black person, and I'm saying that because I'm a black woman, and I encountered a really horrible experience with this person, am I really still siding with you if I see you get treated like this? Or am I sitting there saying it like, I know her. I know she too smart. Or I know
See,
she,
the thing is
I know
that
she,
that's where that's part of this is
say
just
it.
a
No,
lot of
say it.
complicated things, but in my mind, that's part
Mhm,
of why we suffer because
mhm.
we're never on code.
Okay.
Because when white people see things like that happening to white people, if the white
Mhm,
people are dead
mhm,
wrong, they're
mhm,
going to side with them. The same with Latinos, the same with Asians.
mhm.
Blacks are the only people that have all that kind of thing going on. So we don't know how to stick together. We don't know how to close ranks. We don't know how to teach people how to treat us because we're so busy giving passes. Like now they're like, black people can teach. I'm not teaching them anything. When you start being nice to me and my people, maybe I'll consider it. The Chinese are over there kicking Africans out of hotels, kicking them out
Yeah,
of
I saw it.
residences,
I
jumping
saw
them in the
that.
street. Okay, look, I don't want
So
anybody to
there's
get
no really
killed.
sympathy card for them from your
Not for me.
perspective. And I say perspective because it's
That's
not
just my
you.
feeling.
Right. That's
Half the
just your
people on
feeling.
my timeline are saying
Right.
we rally with the Asians,
Mhm,
stop white terrorism. Be
mhm.
clear, I don't want anybody to get killed
Right. That's why I say
or
perspective.
unfairly
Mhm.
massacred. I'm not in favor of that. But what I'm saying is we have so many issues. We need to learn how to lock rank and advance our race. Every other race works together, closes rank, looks out for each other. Not, I mean, we're different from everybody, but it's to our detriment in this
Mhm.
regard, I think.
I have a family member, very close family member, that believes that there could be a white man who is standing there. You know he's a rapist. You know he's foul. You know he's one of the worst people on earth. And there could be a good black man standing there. You know he's giving, volunteer, loving, honorable, and you can only save one. And my family member believes that the white man can only save one. Do you save the good black man, or do you save this white man who you know is a bad, horrible person? And my family member believes that white people will still save that white man just based on skin alone.
I
And it
believe
hurts me
that
to
that
believe
is
that.
true for
I've
the
asked
bulk.
some of my white friends that would they, and they're like, Tora, no, no, you believe that I you believe that. I said, no, no, it's not my belief. I always want to ask that question because when we had that discussion and we talked about it, it hurt me when he said that because I never thought about how they dignify each other. You know what I'm saying? Like I never thought about that because
I
I
think the
only from my
bulk of
heart.
them would do that. I agree with your family member about the majority of them, and it's just instinct.
Mm-hmm.
They are on code. Only
Okay.
people who are not on code is black folk. But I also agree with your friends
Mm-hmm.
that there really are some white people who just aren't like that, and they're more into character, and they really accept black. There are some. It would be incorrect to assert that
Mm-hmm.
there are none. There are some who
Right.
would not save the white man and who would instead save the black person on the basis of morality or character. But the bulk of them, I think, just knee jerk.
Mm-hmm.
That's my, saving the white
Because
man.
can you picture yourself with that? Because I asked, I said, we flipped the scenario in my brain and I said, okay, so we asked each other. Now let's picture not trying to picture the worst type of black man we could find, but someone with, just not good intentions, horrible, doesn't do the world any justice whatsoever, not contributing anything, only taken from this world in a horrible way. Black man standing here, white man standing here, who the white man is good as gold, supportive, loving, everything under the sun that you could ask a human being to be. Who would we say based on, the
My
merit alone?
My answer is unless you're a B1 black, meaning black first, on code, black consciousness,
Mhm.
all of that, very many black people would save the white person because that's how black people are. We've been programmed on many different levels. There's some level of self hate, there's some level of adoration of the white race. There's just a lot of things that we've been subjected to and that have become ingrained in many of us.
Mhm.
I think most blacks would save the white person, but what do you think?
And I got upset with myself because in my mind, I only want to save the good person. So
Many
if the
blacks
good
are like
person happens to be the white guy that day, that's the guy that gets saved. And I don't know if that's the right answer anymore. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know that there is a right answer, but you know,
I don't know what the answer would be because I went through so many different scenarios. I did it with the white woman, black woman, and then it changed the dynamic.
really, for
Yes,
women,
yes.
if it's a black woman who is just not up to any good and a white woman who is an upstanding moral um, citizen, you would save the black woman?
And that hurt me.
Why?
It
Why?
hurt me
What's
in
the
my heart to know
difference?
that my soul sees something different. And I don't know if it's because of myself, soul sister, that the saying soul sister. I don't know if it was that, but I remember saying to my family member, I switched it in my brain and I said, oh my God, I hate the way this feels. And we had this real deep discussion about that because I hated it. I hate the way it felt that I was like, I have to save her. But I was saving her for so many reasons in my soul. It wasn't even just saving her so she could be alive. It was like What did the world? I gave her
All
excuses.
the things she probably had been through because you can identify with that. But do you know something? It was a little sad to me when I was thinking about just this conversation as I was listening to you, because a lot of Black people say that we have been taught, Black men and women,
Hmm.
to hate each other, to not identify with each other, to not love each other.
Hmm.
And that conversation this conversation that we're having makes, I never really took a position on that, but it makes me wonder if that's not true, because because I understand what you're saying, and you're knowing, man, she started off as a good girl and they
Yep.
did this and but
Yep.
that's the same thing they do to our men.
Yes.
We should be the first
Right.
to recognize it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And I could not
yeah.
move my mind. I tried to go back after I caught that feeling
Hmm.
about my sister. And when I say sister, it's not sister. We're talking about sisters for the
Yeah, I
listeners.
know what you
You know
mean.
what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause I don't want people thinking, oh, her sister. No, no, we say sisters. That mean all of
Yeah,
us.
we'd be
You
like,
know?
hey sis,
Right.
oh
That's
yeah,
our sis.
I know what
Exactly.
you mean.
So being as though my sis was deemed damned by the world, I saved her. I have to save her. And I couldn't even see any race at that moment. I just saw my sister.
Well, that's
And
actually nice. That's a plus that you do. I mean, we have to start somewhere. So to have that solidarity with women, that's a strong first step,
but what if that is the white Caucasian race excuse? That's all they see. That's all they doing is identifying with that. The way I felt
know.
about my sister.
Oh, well, you know what?
That's what hurts me.
If we could adopt that same code, it
Mhm.
might be okay, because everybody else is already on that code, regardless of if they're just identifying
Oh
with their
yeah. Oh
sister,
yeah.
or if they're just being racist,
Mhm.
or if any other reason they're on code. We're the only ones who aren't. If we just get on code, I'm not going to be mad at the white person for protecting their power. It's
Mhm.
my job to fight for my power. You know what I mean? So I should be doing that same kind of thing, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And it's almost like life taught me at that moment that um everything in life is built around identifying with your own. You know,
And then
I
it's,
because
yeah,
because there was a police officer this week. One of the mass shootings said the guy was just having a bad day.
which was outrageous. Which was, you have murdered all those people because you had a bad day. The fact that he could even bring himself to say that, that's
It
way
hurt
beyond.
so
That's
deep
outrageous.
listening to it, right? That hurt me so deep just listening, saying, a bad day. There's people mourning. Christmas is gonna come again, and Thanksgiving and birthdays, and there's somebody missing, and you dismiss it as just had a bad day. And I even went in my mental Rolodex and say, okay, pull your sister out. Pull your sister out and say your sister did that exact same crime. Just it's this is have a bad day. And I was like, I'm guilty as the police officer.
I don't know. I'd be telling
I'm guilty
sis,
as the
sis,
police.
you tripping. Now, since you're
No, and the
going,
reason why I said that because wanted I went as deep as she could go. You know, as deep as mental abuse, sexual abuse, every
well,
abuse in
you
the
wouldn't be
world.
saying that she had a bad day. You'd be saying
No,
it
I
has
wouldn't
been
say she
a
had a
rough
bad day.
life. It has been a rough life, and it finally
And see,
broke
that was
her.
my bad day.
That's
That
different.
was my word of bad day. Whatever his word of bad day was, or whatever his meaning of bad day was, that was his word that he chose. I wouldn't have never chose the word bad day, but I was guilty of the excuse of whatever he saw for that little boy. I mean, I'm not gonna say he was a little boy, but he was a young boy. You know, he hasn't lived enough life to be able to say, he's gone for the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? He's never been with enough women, he never been with enough dinners, he never gone on enough trips to say he didn't had a fulfilled life for
Well,
him to
that's the
ruin his
kind
life
of thing
like
you
that.
have to think about before you mow down people. I mean, I don't know
Exactly.
what to say.
So I was thinking,
Even
how do
though
I
we
put
might
a
be
23-year-old
thinking
woman Oh, I wouldn't call her a woman because they didn't call him a man.
What they call, he's a man at 23, he's a man.
Yeah, but they called him everything but
Well,
that.
see, you
So,
got to step, well, you don't have to do anything, but what I do is step back from that kind of propaganda.
okay.
Every time a Black person does something, we're going to try to dig up the worst pictures, showing them in the work. They can be high school, college graduates
Oh,
supporting their kids. They
but
call
that one picture they took with the middle finger up on Instagram,
they
they
call them
crying.
criminals. They dig up all the dirt. When it's a white person, it's a boy, it's a unstable home, it's a
Rugrat,
mental
hooligan.
issue. They always front, it's
Mhm.
all propaganda. And so we have to step away from that. They might call him whatever they want to call him. That's a 23-year-old man. He
Yeah.
is a young man, but
Mhm.
that is a man.
Mhm.
And I think that, let me ask you this, even for the sister, where you'll be like, man, they put her through so much, she just snapped.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, I get that. But would you be thinking, so we need to just let her off the hook? Or wouldn't you be thinking, I hate that happened, but there's consequences. There
And
have to be
see, that
consequences.
was my thing. She still got to go to jail for the rest of her life. But as far as my heart saying, dang, that's it for you. You gone for the rest of your life.
That's the difference.
But yeah, that was my
That's
difference.
the
And
difference.
I don't know if that was his difference. I don't know if he owned that, like he's gone for the rest of his life, and they all like, oh, it's
Look
over
at the
for you.
story you just told us in the last episode.
Yeah,
That they don't do that. They don't,
16 years.
it's not fair, but oh, we're only going to give him 16 years because that's not going to bring her back.
Not gonna
That's
bring.
not the premise of our
Yeah,
criminal justice system.
and
That's
it's not
not
mine.
what punishment and sentencing should be based
No,
on. It's not supposed to be.
I mean, I am definitely wide awoke when it comes to that. Like, if you do the crime, you have to do the time in my book, whatever justice is for you. Whatever they say, if you live in a state where there's the electric chair is still popping, I'm for it. If you did the crime and it's proven you did it, I'm sorry. That's just me. If
Mhm.
you're guilty, then that's just me. And you would say, well, what about your child? Would you want to see your child put to death? If they did the ultimate crime? Absolutely not. Of
Mhm.
course not.
Sorry, that's where we're going to have to draw the line.
Yeah, of course not. I can't uh say my child did a crime and I want to see anything happen to them. But at the end of the day, if somebody hurt my child, yeah, I want them to receive the ultimate
Well,
punishment.
that's different.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? The ultimate punishment.
I
So
agree
that's
with that.
where I say, I can't identify with someone saying somebody has a bad day and then not saying, but they deserve whatever they
There
get.
has to be a but. Also, the bad day was just, maybe he, like you're saying, maybe he meant to say something else, but it was
Yeah.
so offensive to minimize
Mhm.
what had happened to those
Right.
people,
Right.
by saying that. I do want to say though, because it occurs to me, I really believe in second chances with the
Mhm.
regard to the
You
bad
do?
woman, the bad man, all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, people get a chance because people can be going there. I've had a relative, people can go down the road for 40 years and
Mhm.
clean up their life and make a U-turn and
Mhm.
do better. So I never count anybody out.
Yeah.
But in a murder, there are consequences. You have
And
to face,
sexual offenses, I can't give you second
there
chances.
are consequences.
Those type of things, when you are proven guilty and you did it, I can't give you a second chance on taking somebody's life. I know I, sh- not in self defense. I get it, but just cold bloodedness, I can't, because of the simple fact that I can't have, or that person can't have that person back. So I don't feel as though you should have your life back. I feel like it should be in the Bible, the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth part. That's when I, bringing that in. I don't feel like we should turn the other cheek on that one, because
See, but what if the person has been in jail for 2.5 decades and they've reformed and they've demonstrated this, that, and the third, and maybe they've converted to Islam or Christianity or something like that, and they're just a completely different person. Maybe they committed a crime, and this is just a hypothetical,
no, I
but
get it.
maybe they committed a crime at 23 years old and then with 33, 43, 50, they're just a different person. They've totally changed their lives. Do we say you serve your time, we can allow you back into society, or do we say it doesn't matter that you reformed and totally changed yourself? Um, this is the consequences, and you
And
don't.
that I flip flop because when I was younger, I did not believe that a person who was hanging around the bad crowd was at the wrong place at the wrong time and did the ultimate sin and should go to jail or suffer for the rest of their life. When I was younger, I did not feel like that. But as I get older and I realize how precious life is and how quickly it can come and go for somebody who just has a malice heart or whatever, I've changed. I've changed to now. No, I'm sorry. I hope I change back to, feeling like people deserve to have, a second chance because they were wrong, hanging around the wrong person, or even if they just meant to do it. And they just at that time in their life was just so hateful, so spiteful, didn't know, ignorant to the facts of love and life. And like you said, went to jail, went to the wizard and got a heart. And now they're a great person. Absolutely. I want to be able to say, well, make something of yourself, do something right on because I want to be able to say that again. And the reason why I want to be able to say that because I remember feeling that way one time. I remember feeling that way one time. I was like, oh, because I had so many people around me that was going to jail for drugs, selling drugs or, petty thefts or petty crimes. When I was younger, I had so many people I knew I went to school with. And they'd be like, did you hear what happened to so and so? Well, did you hear what happened to so and so? And I used to get so angry, like, what? He's going to jail for 10 years for that. He's going to jail for 15 years for that.
Legitimate. That's a different situation where they're criminalizing drug offenses.
Yeah. Well, it was all drug offenses for the 15 and 10 years. Yeah. They were like,
Yeah, to the point of really altering somebody's life,
Mhm.
and then you murder somebody, and oh, we're gonna give you 16 years because it
Yeah.
won't bring her back. That
Yep.
kind of sentencing disparity has been going on forever. So, it's one thing to say that drug dealer can be reformed.
Hmm.
Maybe that murderer can too with a much longer
Hmm.
time frame. But I mean, those feelings that you had when you were younger were based on really, it sounds like unfair, harsh sentencing.
Right. Right.
And you're saying you're ruining his life because
That's how I felt. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was like, you ruining his life. And I knew I had like one or two girlfriends, and I was like, oh my God, they ruined her life. You know what I'm saying?
they
And she
probably
made a mistake. They ruined her life, and she was gone for a long time. And when she got out, she did really good. Actually, she just hit me up on FaceTime. I mean, Facebook. And
mhm.
I was like, how you doing? Oh my God, you look amazing. And I felt so bad because I felt like she was looking at me like, with the eyes of, are you ashamed of me that I've been, and I'm like, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. I'm
And
not looking at you through those
it
eyes.
can be that one split second for these non-violent crimes, or sometimes even for violent crimes. Have you ever heard young men who have gotten on the other side of adolescence and teenage years and look back and say, I was just so angry back then?
The Oracle of what is it, San Quentin? Um, he teaches investments. Yeah, I'll send you his information. But he committed. I think it was a murder. He robbed somebody, him and a friend, and he committed murder. He was in jail for a long time, and he couldn't read. He couldn't write. He was so ignorant to everything in life. He went there. You know, this guy taught him about how to read. Well, he taught himself pretty much how to read, but he learned it because he was getting this white guy that used to read him the paper, the sports paper. And one day he accidentally, I guess because of the S, he saw the word stocks. He saw the S from stocks. So he handed him the paper. He's like, man, it's not sports, it's stocks. And he was like, what's that? And he's like, that's where white people hide their money. He was like, what? So after that, he learned it. And now he's like a mastermind from stocks. He's made so much money behind bars from stocks, and he does these big auditorium, and I look at life like this and I try to say, with that family, I mean, he's a good person now. He wants, live a great life, but I always remember the life that,
That was
he
taken.
hurt. Right. That he hurt. So
Right,
I
but I
go right
wasn't
back to
really
that.
just saying going to the point of actually murdering anybody, but they say, those I've heard men look back and say, I was so angry then,
You
but they
said it.
didn't do they didn't snap or commit a crime or end up in jail or anything like that. They actually made it through, went
Mhm,
to high school or college or trade school or
mhm,
whatever it is they did. And now they're family men saying, I'm better now. But looking back, I just remember being so angry. And when you're that angry, one bad
yeah,
decision,
yeah,
one bad decision.
yeah.
If you are robbing somebody and it goes awry, you didn't mean to shoot anybody. You meant to take their stuff, but
Yeah.
it went a way you didn't
Oh,
expect because you allowed yourself to be in that situation. I don't actually have an answer. I just,
right. No, I get it because when you say it like that, my heart goes out to that one moment of bad decision. You know,
yeah,
and you already kicking yourself in the butt. You already hating your life that you did something stupid like that. And even when you're mad, and you know how you're not mad as you were the next day and the day after that,
right.
I also like think of stuff like that too. Like, oh, I know that person just wished they had counted to 10. You know,
Yeah,
hypothetically speaking, counted to 10
yeah.
because I know that, if you only had another moment to make
To
another
just
decision, it
reverse
wouldn't
that
even
thing.
happen. Yeah,
Mhm.
it wouldn't
Yeah,
have.
I guess we went in a whole nother direction.
Mhm.
But I think this was a really interesting conversation, and we probably should talk about, what people should do if they feel that
Mhm.
their child is
Mhm.
on the edge. And as a parent, as a mother in particular, we know,
Do we?
something's not
Do we
right.
know?
I think I would know something's not. I try to keep a pulse. I hope I would know. I hope.
That was my thing. I want to know. I don't think my kids are too cute. I don't. I never have, and they will tell you that. I don't think my kids are too cute that somebody can tell me, "Yo, your kid was out here in these streets doing X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, "Not my child."
No,
That's
I
not
don't
me.
think that.
Yeah,
I
that's not. I
think
mean,
they're
I
human
feel like
beings.
I know my own kid, and I know what they're capable of doing. So if they told me they were doing something, I know that I'm like, no, that's not. Now I know that ain't my child. Now if you had told me she did this, this, and this, or he did that, that, and that, but no, no, that's not my child.
I
They
mean,
did.
I would still ask my child first because you never know if they're changing and they're in college, you're not aware if something happened to snap them or whatever. But what I was meaning, like, is just talking to your child, periodically and just trying to make sure that they're on an
Okay.
even keel. How are you feeling? What's going on? Um, trying to get into their headspace, not psych them out or anything, but just
Right.
make sure you're keeping a pulse on where they are. I understand that they can be hiding stuff from us
Mhm.
and we wouldn't know, but I do try to figure out, are you guys okay? Are you adjusting?
Mhm.
What are your girlfriends doing? What are your buddies doing this semester? Did people come back? Are they, did they stay? Just how are you doing? How's it
Mhm.
going? Are you having enough pocket money? Like, just trying to make sure they're okay. And then I guess it goes back to if they were not, what would the options be?
And see, and that's where I think the whole thing in a nutshell, where we kind of we started off talking about one thing and ended up with the other, is
Right.
because most of these parents, they say they didn't see it coming. They didn't see it coming, and then they saw the signs of them having stress, trauma, and depression, and all kind of psychotic, but they didn't think this would be it.
The
You know,
result.
that would be the ultimate result. They None of them saw that part. You know, they were worried and they were concerned, but I'm thinking, do you even see your child manifesting to that part?
This is what I will say. I
Mhm,
mean, just I believe in keeping it real.
mhm,
For white parents, if you see your child looking like he or he in particular,
mhm.
is teetering on the edge and is struggling to fit in and be
Okay.
accepted and whatever, then you need to take immediate action because we all know that their children. I'm not trying to be, I love to be so pro black, but I'm
Mhm.
actually not even trying to be racist right now. I'm trying
No, I
to be
know.
realistic.
Mhm.
We know that their male children have a propensity toward this type of mass violence. So, for any white parent who sees their male son struggling, being a victim of bullying, certainly any
What would you
sexual abuse,
suggest? Where would they go for help if they're afraid of their own kid?
if they're afraid of their own kid,
Yeah, I'm being real. I think if we can think it, and say there must be some parents out there really freaking afraid of their kids for you not to see that. You know, the guns come into your house, the guns in your house, you know, the the things that, your mood. Like, are you a great person? Just wake up one day and just say, hold on, I'm gonna go do
You're
something.
saying that you think they're afraid of their kids because they're so hands off that their kids are getting to this extreme and having this kind of arsenal
Mhm.
and they don't know it or they pretend they don't know it? Or what do you mean by they're afraid?
I think we, well, I know me. I check my kids even on some things that most parents probably just let their kids get away with. You know, if my kids raise their voice just a little bit above what I feel is uncomfortable for me, I'm gonna say something
Yeah, no, I
because
don't.
I don't fear my
Mm.
children.
A little bit,
You know
I'll
what I
give
mean?
them some leeway because you do get to express some frustration or anger, but there
Right, and
has
they're
to
their practice. We
there has
prepare
to
them
be
for the world
respect.
to argue with. But I know me. You know what I'm saying? So I know that I'm not afraid of my children. You know
Me
what I'm
either.
saying? If I hear my children, I don't get afraid and think, oh my God, I don't want to upset them. I don't know what they might do to me.
Do you know that
That's
some
not my
children, both white and black,
Mhm.
abuse their parents? And
Yeah,
I don't mean
I
some
know that for
elderly parents either. I mean, I've heard some of the stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, she let her son or they let their,
I have some
their
counselor
daughter
who tells me stories
do
about
this.
black people and you wouldn't believe it. I'm like, these are black people? She's like, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
horrible stories.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible stories. So yeah, but I believe, well, I know there
In
are a lot
that
of
case, I
people.
think you have to put them out. I just don't, but see, I think that we might have a personality that we're not going to be abused by our kids in the first instance. We've never raised them in that manner, and we're not willing to take that kind of abuse because I think if you're scared of your child, they have to get out. You can't live in my house and be kicking my butt and making me scared, and I'm going to work and paying the bill. You have to get out, or you know what? I'm leaving, and good luck to you.
How about
I'm
that?
not going to
That's
be,
what I'm
that's
talking
just
about.
not going to work. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
How
saying?
about
That's not going to work.
yeah. Yeah. We actually my son and I just had that conversation. He's like, Ma, some kids still live at home at 40. What if I just move back home and don't pay rent? I said, you can, because I know how to move out.
Right, right.
Move out. You can come here and don't pay rent. I don't care. I know just how to move out and leave.
Hmm.
Yeah, let the chips fall as they may. But like I said, I think it's so many different layers to this type of stuff that
I actually think you're right on that. It's like
Mhm.
not a simple conversation or
Yep.
even a simple
I would
answer.
love to get so many inputs on, are you afraid of your kid? You just don't see the signs. You don't know what your kids are going to turn out to be, no matter how great of a parent you are. Like, where do you go? Where do you go that your child is on CNN and they've done something like this? Where do you go?
If you had to give somebody advice
Hmm.
that either was scared of their child
Hmm.
or realized that their child was on a brink of a mental breakdown and doesn't know exactly what to do, what would you recommend for them?
I would definitely tell them that psychiatric wards aren't for everybody. Psychiatric hospitals aren't for everybody. So if there's any way that you can get them to a therapist or a psychologist to try to either help them get some type of medication and therapy first to try to get that over, or find out what is the root. Like, if there's a chemical imbalance, yes, you're going to need some medication to get through it, or dieting, exercise, herbals, whatever the human body needs that's is deficient in. I would definitely go that route, tell them that route. And then I would say, if it's not a chemical imbalance and they are, you know being maybe bullied, victimized, stressed out from work, whatever it is, then you're going to have to either tell them you got to try another way, guide them to another way, help them with another way, because if you care enough. Because if they stay
What
in
do you
that
mean, like another
situation,
way? What are you meaning?
like, well, let's say the postal thing. Everybody heard postal.
Mhm.
Somebody went postal on you because it was a stigma about postal workers going to work and shooting up the post office.
Mhm.
So clearly, there was some stress there. Clearly, there was some trouble there. There was something going on that was making these people snap. So if you see any signs of that, a wife, a mother, or whatever, you could go to that person and say, look, this job ain't working, baby. Let's
There
get,
you
we
go.
me, you can work at 7-Eleven together.
There you go.
Let's go to work at Safeway together. Let's go work at Walgreens, Walmart, wherever. This, I know this got some benefits, and I know I want a roof over my head and clothes. I know we got all these other, but look, it ain't worth it. Your health, your mind, your body, soul is not worth it. Let's do something else.
And even like with college, even though I believe in success and I want
Hmm.
my children to
Hmm.
succeed, I have said, and I don't know if we discussed that, but I've said to them, if you get to the point where, some kids are like jumping off buildings, just killing
Oh,
themselves, committing
oh,
suicide because of the stress of college, then you need to understand that if we have to choose between those two things, I'd
mhm.
rather you just come on back. We don't
Right.
really need a
Yeah.
degree that bad.
Yeah.
And like you, we
I
don't
think
need
we're both
a
on the
corporate
same page
job.
with that.
We don't need school. If you're
Mhm.
being bullied and it's sending you, honey, come on out of there. We're going to homeschool. We're going to chuck it. I'd rather have you safe and
Mhm.
around because you're not incarcerated,
Yep.
and people aren't dead and you never
Mhm.
can forgive yourself and all that other
I
stuff that
totally
goes
agree.
with it. Yeah, I think you gave good advice. You get them out of the situation, you
Mhm.
understand, because looking back, man, I knew they were stressed out. I
Yep.
should have just told,
Shouldn't
well,
have pushed.
tell
Tell
them.
people it'll be all right. Don't tell nobody it's gonna be all right. Don't tell nobody push through it. Don't tell it. The world is made of struggles, and you just you're the best thing to come out of the struggle. Sometimes that is true that the struggle is good for you, but when people have had enough,
Yeah, it
you
can't, you have to judge how extreme.
yeah,
Are they really at their breaking point?
right.
Because at that point, you reel them back in and say, screw that job, honey, we'll figure it out.
That's
And
right.
then also, I would say that if there's any drug use involved at all, if you can, try to get them in rehab. I know that even if you have money, it can be hard to get a bed. I will tell people, if anyone's listening, if you have Medicaid, you will be astonished at the level of things you can get.
Mhm.
And you may have to go to a certain place on a certain date, but those things are available because in that rehab, in addition to helping them detox and come off of that drug,
Right.
is intensive therapy,
Mhm.
individual therapy, group therapy, and that gives people an opportunity to process
Right.
all of that stuff that's going on. So I really recommend it, but a lot of times, the person has to be willing to go into rehab, and that's
Mhm.
where that is an issue.
Yeah, I think that it's to tell someone that it's or to let someone know that it's so many doors that you can go in, that you don't have to choose just church therapy, you don't have to choose the hospital medication. It's so many different ones you can try, meditation, eating right, exercise. It's don't try to fit into one.
Your
Don't try to fit
nutrition
into
can
one.
change your life, your whole life, your chemical balance in your brain, your behavior, your ability to focus. That can change. That's a big thing with me.
When that happens, and that's what I wish, like, because I know that you're a specialist in that, and I know that's one of your specialties, and I would love to be able to talk about that one episode or several episodes where, because that happened to me. I took time out of my life once me and Victoria and my son were out of the house for, he's been out for a while, but when they were gone off to college and it was just me here by myself, um, my spouse was gone off to work, and it would just be me. I said, you know what, I want to start eating right. I want to start exercising and eating right. And I literally did it for 3 months, 3 4, and about probably going into the fourth month, I saw my brain change. I saw it so crystal sharp because I struggle with like dyslexia.
Okay.
I struggle with reading, dyslexia, numbers. They can appear just as backwards as they do forwards for other people.
Mhm.
And everything was crystal clear. Everything like just left.
How'd you stop?
That's what makes me mad
Desired
to this
result.
day. Yes, because things changed so fast in my life. Like people came back home,
Oh,
and
they came back.
people were asking, "Can you cook this for me?" And can you? And then you
Slips.
smell
It's
it.
slippery. You slide back into it,
Yes, you
right?
smell fried food, and it's so hard to say, "Oh no, I don't want a piece of that." I don't want to taste it. It's so hard to cook for someone and also say I don't want it for myself. It's just hard. And
I
I
do.
haven't learned
I cook
discipline
them
yet.
meat and I don't eat it because I don't.
See, that's
I
discipline.
cook them. It's just that once I've made the decision that I didn't like it, that I wouldn't eat it anymore.
Mhm.
It doesn't even. It never
Uh,
even
yeah.
stressed me out. I just would cook it for them. Sometimes I'll have a vegetarian option. Sometimes I just cook them a meal and give it to them and just be like, "Here you go,"
I'd
like
cut
a
sugar
ham or stuffed
completely out
chicken or
and no
something.
meat, just vegetables, just eating all vegetables. And I was eating fish, of course, salmon,
Mhm.
and fish and seafood. Well, I was eating seafood, but I was eating no meats whatsoever, all vegetables, juicing, taking vitamins, really good vitamins every day. And I like I said, going into my 4th month, I saw my brain switch and I was excited and I was happy. And I'm going back there.
Mhm.
At first, I kept thinking it was going to be this moment that was going to come that was going to help me go back there, but I realized that moment isn't coming. So I'm just going to take it upon myself and just do it. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking, okay, once this
just
happens and
make it
once,
happen.
yeah, nah, it's not going to happen.
Well, we can talk about that. And, that's all the things you named are the kinds of things I do. Not that I'm perfect. I
Mhm,
drink my wine, I'll have a mixed drink. I do
mhm,
whatever it is that I do, but I generally am probably a bit disciplined about, what
mhm.
I eat and drink and all that. But, we could talk
And
about
you're
that.
very good about exercising too.
Hmm?
I said you're very good with exercising too. I need to get
Because
better with
like
that.
I told you in the at some point that can be a way to have time to yourself in the midst
Mhm,
of everything else because you're
mhm,
so busy sweating or lifting those weights or whatever you're running, whatever you're doing,
mhm.
that your mind is not focused on the people around you. That can be your
And
own.
something is people don't probably know who don't exercise. It is such a euphoric feeling when you finish.
It's a
So
way to control your mood. It
yeah,
helps maintain your weight. And who doesn't feel great when the weight's maintained?
yes,
So you
yeah,
can eat more because you're expending energy. We have really gone afield. I think
right.
it's late and we should end now, but we can come back and talk about those
I
things.
definitely think so.
And at least we did get to address the issue of the mass shootings.
Mhm.
And were you able to say what you wanted to say about that, or do you feel that we need a continuation of that as
No,
well?
no, I really think we addressed because that was just really my main focus, the mental health of it all. And do we know the warning signs of our family, friends, and loved ones when they are not doing right? When they're on the verge of, going off the deep end. Do we know it? Do we see
And
it?
if you see it, to do something, that's the main thing too, to do something. If you're afraid of your child, then call somebody else and
Yeah.
let them give you some suggestions on what to do. Even sometimes, even if you do the wrong thing,
Yep.
do something to start the process. You can always adjust, tweak it to get it right. But what is disastrous is just being like, oh my goodness, I see this, I don't know what to do, and
Oh,
I'm not going to do anything because I don't know what to do. Do
period.
something.
Do something.
Call somebody, do something. I
I
think
agree.
that's the key.
I agree. I agree.
All righty. Well, I think this one has come to an end. As always, I enjoyed it. And we thank you all for joining us and look forward to seeing you next time.
Next time. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.